4:17 a.m. in Paris. In a glass-walled basement beneath La Défense, a finance team is seconds from authorizing a routine profit repatriation when the screen flashes red, transfer blocked, 08:17 in Ouagadougou. At the gate of the Ministry of Finance, a fresh decree is pinned to the notice board. Temporary suspension of profit repatriation, full contract audit, minimum domestic retention quota for the National Development Fund. Two cities, 4,600 kilometers apart, hear the same soft click, the sound of money changing direction. Today's figure is $12 billion, not just a chain of zeros. It's whether a hospital gets ventilators or waits another year, whether a rural bridge is finished or left as scaffolding, whether the price of Africa's gold is decided over African soil or far from it. When the river of money is rerouted, the map of power tilts, millimeter by millimeter. Phones will ring, lawyers will dust off stabilization clauses, headlines will reach for words like shock. But beneath the noise, something plain is being written across the night. Where the money stays, the rules are made. A chalk line has just been drawn. The question now is simple and heavy. Who can hold that line until morning? Tonight's story begins with 3 sentences on a single sheet of paper, a temporary suspension of profit repatriation, a full audit of legacy contracts, a minimum domestic retention quota for the National Development Fund. Dry words, ink on fiber. Yet the moment they touched the notice board, they charged the air like a dust storm rolling across the Sahel. What does it mean in plain life? Start here. For years, profits from gold, telecom, energy, and concessions have flowed out in invisible rivers, part dividends, part management fees, part creative accounting with pretty names. The decree doesn't stop business. It redraws the riverbed. It says, before profits travel, we count them properly, we tax them fairly, and we keep a defined share at home to build the roads, clinics, and processing plants that turn raw ground into real prosperity. On-screen counter, $12,000. Aggregate across sectors, 12 to 18 mo. The number, $12 billion, is not a single vault behind a single door. It's a mosaic composed of thousands of transfers scheduled over quarters, quarterly dividends from a gold giant, monthly service fees from telecom towers, logistics and off-take margins rolled into contracts so dense they need a lawyer and a miner to translate. The decree bunches those transfers together, holds them up to the light, and asks a simple sovereign question. What is the fair share for the society that carries the ore, powers the network, guards the pipeline, and births the labor? It sets a floor, call it 65% today, rising toward 90% on sensitive commodities, to be retained domestically until audits are complete and renegotiations are signed. That word, floor, matters. A floor is not a fist. It is a promise that the share for the people will not fall below a number written in law, no matter the mood of markets or the weather of politics. So the ministry forms 3 teams. Team 1, contracts. They comb through stabilization clauses, production sharing agreements, and tax holidays tucked like old letters into drawers. Where an index is outdated, they update it. Where a royalty is a whisper, they give it a voice. Where a discretion is too wide, they fence it with public thresholds. Team 2, flows. They trace payments across banks, related party invoices, and transfer pricing that sent profit across borders for advisory and technology licensing at rates no classroom could explain. Not to punish, to measure. Team 3, design. They draft a new retention regime that channels retained profits into a ring-fenced account, the National Development Fund, ruled by rules. Percentage allocations to education, health, rural roads, value-add processing, and a portion to a future generation's sovereign fund, each with public dashboards that a farmer with a phone can read. B-roll, hands stamping pages, LED board flicking, retained 65%, map heat of major mines and network nodes. And, yes, the decree lands on desks that are not in Ouagadougou. In Paris, someone highlights temporary 3 times. In Courbevoie, a CFO tells her team, "This is not expropriation. This is a hold with conditions. Read it correctly." But another voice answers, "Temporary can become template." The word ripples down hallways. Template. On-screen text, template or tempest. Because if a template is born here, if a retention floor plus transparent audit plus renegotiation window can function without breaking the machine, then the conversation migrates from how much can we extract to how do we build where we extract, from where do profits sleep to where do profits wake people up. A final image before we cross into the storm. A classroom at dusk. A teacher flicks a switch. For the first time, the light does not sputter. A small difference. A small bill paid. The decree is not a miracle. It is a redirection. But sometimes, in a country that has lived on almosts and not yets, redirection is the first miracle of all. Where money stays, rules are made. Tonight, rules meet resistance. At 04:19 a.m. in Paris, the phones begin. A bank relationship manager calls a mining multinational. "Are you aware?" The answer is a practiced calm. "We are reading. We are consulting counsel." The counsel, still in slippers, opens PDFs while coffee hisses, scrolling to the clauses that sound like guardrails. Stabilization, fair and equitable treatment, expropriation, arbitration in Geneva. Words designed to keep investment safe from storm. Cable channels run banners. Markets eye Sahel risk. Some talking heads call it populism. Others call it overdue correction. A solitary analyst admits on air, frankly, the outflows were always high. The feed cuts away before the sentence can finish. In Ouagadougou, microphones gather around a simple podium. A spokesperson says the magic words of any sovereign project done with clear head and square shoulders. "We're not chasing anyone away. We are renewing the terms by which we all stay." The emphasis lands on renewing. One reporter asks if the country fears capital flight. The answer is clean. Capital that only exits is not a partner. Capital that builds while it earns is welcome. Neighboring capitals watch with a scholar's frown and a migrant's hope. In Niamey and Bamako, statements speak of regional coordination, of African value created in Africa, of harmonized regimes that prevent the old game. Play one country against the other with tax incentives like chips. There is talk, cautious but real, of a Sahel negotiating platform that pools lawyers and geologists, so 5 voices sound like one when contracts hit the table. B-roll, joint presser, a digital map linking capitals by a thin, glowing line. Inside the multinational boards, 2 factions emerge. Faction 1, litigation first, file for emergency relief, signal to markets that contracts mean what they say. Protect the sanctity of stabilization clauses that froze fiscal terms in a museum glass case long after the price of gold changed, the cost of diesel changed, and the life of villages changed. Faction 2, negotiation now. Avoid the optics of suing a country for trying to fund schools. Consider long-run license to operate, trade a higher retention for longer tenures, and expedited permits for downstream processing. In the city grid, rumors run faster than facts. A clerk says he heard all ATM withdrawals will be capped. False. A driver says fuel will double by morning. False. An economist on public radio explains, slowly, that retention of profits is not seizure of working capital. Operating expenses remain operating. Suppliers get paid. Wages are wages. The point is not to break the machine. The point is to reprogram the output. SFX swell. Cut to quiet. Street dawn. A small shop owner unlocks a metal shutter. She sets out bread and tin cups. She has heard the word billion on every channel. But her math is smaller. Rent, rice, school fees. She asks a single question out loud, to no one and to everyone at once. If the money is staying, when will we notice? That question travels like a paper boat down the new riverbed toward the desks that must answer it. Hesitation ends at the ledger. Either the dollars translate fast, or the story does not hold. A decree without delivery is a slogan. So the ministry publishes a use of funds architecture that reads less like poetry and more like plumbing diagrams, where each retained dollar flows, how long it sits, who signs for its movement, how it appears on a public dashboard with timestamps, contractors, and GPS pins. Channel 1, schools and clinics, 35%. Targets in black and white, 2,500 classrooms refurbished or built, 120 rural clinics upgraded with reliable cold chains, 15 regional hospitals equipped with surgical theaters that do not fold in the heat, payments tied to milestones, not promises, contractor lists public, community monitors named and reachable, B-roll, fluorescent light flicks on, chalk on a new blackboard, a child laughs by a vaccine fridge, humming quietly. Channel 2, rural infrastructure, 20%. Not vanity highways to nowhere, last-mile roads that let a farmer move tomatoes without losing half to bruises. Feeder roads measured in kilometers and in minutes saved. Small bridges that lift a village out of the rainy season's isolation. On-screen map, dots connected, access time before after metric appears. Channel 3, local value add in 25%. A pilot line for gold refining within borders to capture a greater share of upstream value. Incentives for light manufacturing tied to mineral processing and agri-processing, shea butter that leaves in jars, not sacks, cotton that leaves as fabric, not lint. The ministry tenders 2 build-operate-transfer plants with the rule that at least 40% of management must be trained locally within 5 years. Channel 4, youth training and civil service, 10%. Not militia, skills, welding, electrical, maintenance, geotech sampling, machining. A civil service reserve that can be deployed to fix water systems and school roofs as quickly as rumors travel. Channel 5, sovereign and stabilization, 10%. A future generations fund seeded in small amounts now, disciplined amounts later. A stabilization buffer that keeps clinics open when commodity prices dip. To keep the machine honest, a quarterly report is mandated, not a glossy PDF. A website with line item payments and photos from site monitors uploaded by phone, names of contractors, delivery dates. Red flags visible to anyone, a road paid twice, a bridge that never met the river, a clinic without medicine 3 months after the invoice boasted supplied. B-roll, citizen scrolling a dashboard, red, yellow, green indicators change in real time. But money changes more than cement. It changes conversations in homes. A teacher calls her sister, "I got chalk and a new bulb, they said the fund." A nurse holds a new stethoscope like a jewel. A foreman frowns over a plan. If the refining line hits output, we can hire double. There is resistance, too. Some local businesses, long used to arrangements, complain about procurement that demands open bids. A middleman with a quiet smile and a quick handshake finds the new document-heavy world suffocating. A young activist tweets that the dashboard is incomplete, that one contract lacks a PDF link. The ministry replies in public, "Fixed," The link appears. The activist is surprised, then encouraged, then addicted to checking. On-screen text, trust is a verb, and something else shifts, not a statistic, a posture. The way people stand in line at a government office, the way a guard speaks when asked a question, the way a microphone is shared at a town hall. Money did not buy dignity. Keeping money simply revealed it. Delivery breeds patience. Slippage breeds fury, which will grow faster by day 90. Beyond borders, calculators hum. Traders who only noticed the Sahel when a convoy stalled now draw new arrows on their flowcharts. 3 pathways begin to glow. Pathway A, South-South and BRICS Plus. Refiners in Asia, financiers in the Gulf, lenders willing to price risk for a fair share of processing at origin. Offers come with strings, always with strings, but the strings are different. Not extract and exit, but build and buy. The decree becomes a conversation starter, not a dead end. Pathway B, Africa to Africa. Regional demand is real. Cement plants need gypsum. Power projects need transformers. Cotton mills need consistent lint. A Sahel corridor linking mines, farms, and ports can make intra-African trade ordinary instead of aspirational. The retention regime sets a precedent. Profits feed pipelines that move goods within maps, not just out of them. Pathway C, neutral commodity markets with a twist. Offtakes are renegotiated with value-add clauses. If you buy the ore, you co-finance the pilot plant. If you buy the cocoa, you co-finance the packaging line. Not charity. Commercial logic with dignity embedded. Of course, the world does not clap. Arbitration notices are drafted. Investment-grade analysts warn of risk. A conference panel in Geneva calls the decree dangerous. A panel in Nairobi calls it delayed common sense. Both panels are, in their own way, telling the truth they are paid to tell. What matters is not that there is disagreement. What matters is that the negotiating table moved. From a private room where terms are whispered to a public square where terms are posted, old agreements are honored where they are fair, amended where they are obsolete, retired where they are predatory. The process is messy. Rule of law is not a slogan here. It's a calendar. Notices, replies, hearings, signatures. B-roll, split screen of 2 conferences. A judge's gavel, a crane lifting a prefab onto a site. Diplomats speak quietly, as diplomats do. Some offer mediation. Some threaten to relocate investment. Some candid in corridors, but say the part others only think. If you can make this work without chaos, others will copy you. That is why we are worried. The sentence hovers, honest and a little afraid. Templates teach, tempests warn. Which lesson will echo farther? A single decree cannot carry a country. It needs pillars. Pillar 1, local beneficiation law. Hard code, a share of value add to be done at origin. Not maximalist from day one, sequenced. Start with refining thresholds and packaging mandates that the market can absorb, then climb. Pillar 2, a sovereign development and future fund. 2 pockets, 1 coin. One pocket is liquid, stabilizes clinics when commodity prices wobble. The other pocket is long, invested with guardrails, away from sticky fingers and election calendars. Independent board, audited publicly, names, not initials. Pillar 3, contract transparency and data portal. Every major agreement published with redactions only for true trade secrets. Payment flows tagged with IDs that follow them through the system. A CSV that a student can download and a grandmother can skim. Pillar 4, a central negotiation unit. Lawyers, geologists, modelers, and translators under one roof. Their job is not to bark. It is to price. What is a fair royalty at today's ore grade and tomorrow's? What does a 10-year tax holiday cost the nation in classrooms? What does expedited permitting save the investor in financing costs? Replace bluff with math. Pillar 5, citizen oversight with teeth. quarterly hearings where ministers present KPIs on camera, a hotline for procurement anomalies, protection for whistleblowers who step forward with courage and proof. Nothing kills a project faster than the first whiff of hypocrisy. Timeline. Day 30. Publish the first dashboard. Not perfect, but real. Name the first 5 projects funded by retention. Show a receipt. Day 90. Release the first independent audit summary. Show errors corrected, show a contract amended, announce the first local value-add plant tender winner. Day 180. Sign the first renegotiated offtake with a value-add clause. Cut ribbon on 2 visible projects that ordinary people can walk on, sit in, touch. Risks? Many. Cash flow crunch. Firms may plead hardship, offer bridge mechanisms, escrowed repatriations released upon audit milestones. Legal drag. Cases can take years. Don't sit still while papers fly. Pilot what you can under uncontested authorities. Internal sabotage. The old networks will test the new pipes. Guard with redundant controls. No single person can move a single large payment. But remember this: a country is not a boardroom and not a hashtag. It is a set of shared chores. If the decree becomes chores, poured concrete, wired clinics, hired apprentices, then even your critics must wrestle with an inconvenient sight: things working. By day 180, either the line fades or it is carved into stone. Brothers and sisters, we began with a red flash on a banker's screen and a sheet of paper on a ministry gate. We traced the river of money as it met a new wall, watched phones ring and rooms fill, and followed retained dollars into classrooms, clinics, roads, and machines that spin raw ore into finished life. We did not pretend there were no storms. Litigation will come. Op-eds will sharpen. Markets do not like surprises, and this is a surprise measured in billions. But behind the thunder, a quieter weather may be taking shape. Predictability with fairness, profit with presence, growth with roots. The 3 sentences on that decree are not an end to business. They are an end to business as if the ground beneath it were silent. So here is the human test, not a spreadsheet test. 90 days from tonight. Can a mother point to something that was not there before and say, retention did that? Can a foreman at a small plant shrug and say, we hired 6 more because the pilot line finally launched? Can a student open a laptop and find in one click the numbers that explain her town's new road? If the answer is yes, the line drawn tonight will thicken. If the answer is no, the river will find an old channel, as rivers do. Because at the end of slogans and storms, delivery is the only persuasion left standing. On-screen prompt: what would you build first with 12B retained? Drop your answer in the comments. 1 school, 1 clinic, 1 bridge at a time. And subscribe, because in 90 days we will return to measure what stood firm and what gave way. Not with adjectives, with receipts. Where the money stays, the rules are made. Where the rules are made, dignity learns to stay, too.